Greetings everyone, I'm Scott with Serkworks Art Labs. Welcome to another bonus issue of Making Comics 101. So today what we've been talking about this week is thumbnails. We did our regular episode, kind of went over what thumbnails were and all the different reasons why you should be doing thumbnails. But now I want to dive, a little bit deeper into, my process of doing thumbnails. And there's a few steps and everything, and there is no right or wrong way to do this. There's no particular format. I'm going to show you the formats I work in and show you what's available to you, some things that I offer that you can use as tools. But you don't have to use these tools. You can use whatever works for you. You can draw your thumbnails out. You can draw all your borders out or whatever. I do have some tools. Some are paid, some are free, and I'll kind of show you those, some of the different examples or different options that you can use to help you in creating your thumbnails. So anyway, let me first go over, and I touched a little bit on this on the sort of proper episode, but I'm just going to reiterate a little bit about thumbnails. So this right here, well, that's getting a little bit ahead of myself. So here, let me show you these first. So this is, no. Here we go. So this is what I was calling pre-thumbs. They're super small, not even, barely even stick figures, even you can call them that. You probably can't even tell what they are. It's more for, reference for me, just to go off of and get something down pretty quick as far as what I'm doing, because I think the benefit of doing thumbnails is to get them out quickly. Now you can kind of revise these. I don't know if I would do it more than twice, but what I do is once I have these down, I got a sort of a basic idea. I'm not thinking so much of angles or anything like that, just a little bit, but I just want to, I'm basically with this, what I'm trying to do is break it down so I know what needs to go on each particular page. Now, if you have a script and you've broken it down into pages, sometimes that works, but sometimes the way scripts are broken down, sometimes it's hard to kind of fit everything that is indicated on the page of your script into an actual page, and sometimes you can take liberties and do some different things with that. So anyway, so I do this as my sort of my first step, these real tiny, what I call pre-thumbs, and then I'll go in, and these are a little, these are a little larger, a little more detailed. These are something that I could maybe even scan. And you can do this digitally. I would at least do the first step traditionally just with a pen or a pencil. Maybe even pen is better because it's quicker. You're not worried about erasing or anything with these things here. But with something like this, you can either scan, or if you do them digitally, you can maybe blow them up and bring the transparency down and get a little more of a blueprint when you start doing your actual sketching and everything. So anyway, so that's sort of a second step. And again, this is an entirely different story. This is one where I did sort of the little pre-thumbs. This is for the anthology project that I did, and then I kind of got a little larger, and this is a little closer to what you might see. Still not super detailed or anything. So there's that. So as far as formats and some of the things I was talking about, now this is a page that I printed out. This is available in the Comic Maker Starter Kit. The Comic Maker Starter Kit is free, so you can go to my website at serkworks.com. You can download that, and there's a bunch of different templates and things like that. This is in there, so you can print that out. But I have something new that I'm just sort of announcing. If you saw the video I did on this, then you may have seen this, but I'll show you a little more, like I said, in depth on what this is. So this is just a notebook. I'll kind of open up. Make your own comic thumbnail guides. I've got a lot of these different guides, but this is the one for thumbnails and for regular comics. I also have a manga version that's a little more of a manga size. It's got more pages, but it's smaller. It's more digest format. So just depending on how you tend to work. But the good thing about these is they're portable. There's a lot of pages in them. Basically it's just all thumbnail guides. So it's a nice little notebook that you can keep with you. It's easier to keep track of than maybe a bunch of these loose papers floating around or whatever. Plus, if you were to print out this many of these, ink is expensive, so it might just make more sense to get these. These aren't available on my website yet. They are available on Amazon. I will leave an affiliate link. You can check those out. But they're a little more than a fancy cup of coffee. They're about $6.50 in the US, and if you have to Amazon Prime, it's free shipping. So a pretty good deal for what you're getting. But I'm just gonna show you here kind of what you know. I'll just kind of, you can personalize it and everything. And in the beginning, there's some drawing tips and things like that, some stuff like that. And then, like I said, you've got all these thumbnail pages that you can just use as a as just a journal. So I'm gonna actually use this, and then we're gonna kind of go over the script that I've been showing you before. We went over me actually creating the script and everything, but now I want to create thumbnails of it just to give me an idea. Now, like I said, I want to do this rather rough. I don't want to get too bogged down in details and things like that. So I'm going to do that with pen because it's not erasable. And I'm just going to quickly, and then again, we're not worried about, you know, detail. We're not worried about making this stuff look good. We're just trying to get our ideas on the page and kind of create a blueprint, and then we can refine it after that if we like. So I'm going to go, let's see, with the first, what do we have here? So Panel 1, bird's eye view. We look down a large metropolitan city that is overrun by plant life. So I'm going to, with an establishing shot, now I think I've got like 3 panels on this first page. So with the establishing shot, I'm just going to create, you know, and you can use rulers for this, but because again, I'm not worried about a crazy amount of detail. So I'm just going to create a panel border kind of like that. And then I'm just going to sort of indicate that we've got our buildings here. Nothing fancy, you know. We got a building here, maybe one right here. We'll try to, you know, just show a little bit of perspective here, but nothing too crazy. Put some buildings in the background, like that. So there we go. And then I want to show, you know, it's run down and sort of overgrown. This is sort of after some sort of apocalypse. So I'm just putting some little like weeds and things growing out of here. I can refine all this stuff later. You know, a lot of overgrown bushes and trees. So trees and stuff that's pretty, it's kind of overgrown so much to the point where even with these skyscrapers, you've got these large, you know, large trees and vines and things hanging off of it. So, and that's pretty much all we need. That'll give me the idea, that will inform me as far as that's what I want this first panel to look like. So we're going to go to the next panel. Let's see, where are we? So panel 2, wide shot. Our hero peering down to the streets below where Dr. Paradox has taken a hostage. All right, so I want this to be our largest panel. I'm kind of gonna break this down into thirds, and I might as well just draw this last panel here. So I want this last panel to be a little larger than the top panel, but not as big as this middle panel, which is sort of our main focus. Again, not worried too much about details and things like that. So I want our character is going to kind of be looking down. So I'm just going to indicate in here, we're kind of looking at it from the back of his head. Now we've already done the character design, so he knows he kind of has like sort of goggles and everything. And these sort of eye things there. I want to show his shoulder here, maybe part of his arm kind of peeking here. Not really worried about the anatomy so much at this point. And then, but I do want to show him kind of as part of his hand here. So he's sort of maybe pointing down at the villain, like, you know, hey, I see you, you know. So there we've got our main character. And then I'm gonna kind of tilt this a little askewed, so the angle that we're looking at. So we've got some of our buildings now. We're looking down at the buildings now, so we want to see sort of the tops of these buildings. So we're looking at it sort of a different perspective. And then we're going to draw our villain is going to be right here in the center. All right, so here he is. He's got sort of a dome, almost like a Mr. Freeze, but instead of keeping him cold, he's got some toxicity that's kind of going around that that basically keeps him alive for whatever reason. And so, You know, he's got his one hand, a clenched fist here. Again, we're kind of working with this perspective. This is, like I said, this could even be rougher than what I'm doing, because, you know, it could be more of a stick figure, but he's here, and then he's got this mechanical hand, and it's kind of up here like this, and then he's holding a hostage, this woman right here, and she's, you know, she's kind of grasping onto his hand because she he doesn't want her to, she doesn't want him to let go and her to fall to her death. So here she is. She's kind of hanging here, and then now we've got this bottom rooftop that they're perched on. We want to see that, you know, so we're gonna kind of see that right here, and then from there we're gonna have some more buildings, kind of like this. Up in here. Again, not worried too much about the perspective, other than that we want to indicate that we are looking down. So we'll show kind of some of that, and you know, we also want to indicate that, you know, maybe have some rebar or whatever. Just these are, again, they're dilapidated. So, and some vines, kind of maybe some vines kind of coming up here around these buildings. And that's enough, so we can kind of see. I'm just going to outline this guy a little more just so he can pop out, because when we, you know, we'll be able to do a little more when we start adding the details, but I don't want him to get lost as far as this thumbnail goes. Maybe some more cracks here, but that's pretty good. So there we go. We've got our hero there, and then so what do we have next here? Let's see. Page 3, we zoom, oh no, not page, we're worried about panels. Medium shot, Dr. Paradox is gripping a woman with his mechanical claws, so we already kind of indicated that, but we're getting a little bit of a close-up, and there is some dialogue here. Now, we don't really have to show the dialogue, but I do want to get a little more of a close-up on this sort of villain. So he's got a villainous kind of sneer. Going to be holding up his fist again here, this fist, and then over here he's got his, still has his mechanical hand, and then you want to see he's kind of holding her out, so she's going to be her head's going to be a little bigger than his, because I want to show some perspective here, some foreshortening and everything. So he's kind of holding her out in front, so we get her right sort of in the foreground. She got a worried look on her face, hair kind of blowing in the wind. Again, her arm kind of coming up here, holding on to his arm so that she doesn't fall. And then again, we get a little bit of perspective right here with our villain. So there we go. That's kind of how we do a first page. And then what do we got for the second one? I don't know if we'll do this whole story or not, but we can at least do it, maybe another page here. So we got page 2, wide shot Wild Thing. Now here's a funny thing. As I called this character Wild Thing, and it was brought to my attention that there was actually a movie from the 80s called Wild Thing about sort of this orphan character that grew up, like, I guess in the inner city, kind of similar to some of the things we're doing here. It wasn't post-apocalyptic or whatever, but he basically was sort of a you know, an urban Tarzan type character. I haven't seen the movie, but it looked like it was kind of something I might want to check out. But so I might have to change his name. So I even put a indication here. I crossed out Wild Thing and put Wild One. I don't know if that's good, but I don't know. This isn't something I'm really going to pursue, I don't think, as far as the comic. This is just an example, but it was kind of odd that some of the similarities of the character, the name of the character, and everything, and what I was trying to do. Now, he wasn't the idea behind this particular superhero is he's sort of based more on a Spider-Man kind of character archetype, where instead of spinning webs, he can control these vines and everything that are all over this world, and he can use that to ensnare villains or swing around on those. I'm sure the character in the movie didn't have that because there weren't vines in this inner city. He just kind of, I guess, jumped from building to building or something, I'm guessing. But you know, those things happen. You come up with an idea like, oh, somebody kind of thought of something similar. But anyway, so here we go. Where was I? So Wild Thing swings from a vine to engage the villain. So let's see. Do I want? All right. Well, I guess I can do that now. Maybe we're kind of flipping the perspective around, because before we saw him from the back, we haven't. I think this is a good point to sort of reveal our main character. So how do we want to do that? So maybe he's kind of coming in here. The vine. Maybe his legs. Maybe we do sort of a twisted kind of perspective. We are sort of doing it like a Spider-Man character. So maybe have some of that weird twisted Todd McFarlane type anatomy or something, who knows. But he can kind of be swooping down, and maybe we don't even have a panel here. Maybe this is sort of our breakout, just to kind of show that. Maybe we can show some of the buildings here in the background or whatever. Or maybe we can do this. We can draw a panel, and like, so part of him is kind of breaking out of that panel. All right. So we've got our panel, but just to give a little more emphasis, kind of pop, he's like popping out of that panel just to kind of, because this is our introduction more or less to this character. Other than this, all we've seen from him is the back side of him. So, and then we'll want sort of our vines to kind of come out here, and maybe they even kind of twist out and go beyond the border here. All right, and there is a sound effect here. We can indicate that if we want. It's just swoosh. You don't necessarily have to put that in the thumbnails. We're not really worried about dialogue and stuff so much in the thumbnails. Medium shot. Wild Thing grabs a handful of vines on his descent. So, how many panels are in here? It looks like we've got 3 panels in this. So, okay, I don't want to repeat the same panel layout we did here with the 333. So I'm going to do something a little different, but I just want to look ahead and make sure that this will work for whatever the next thing is. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this down into 2 long panels here. And so medium shot, Wild Thing grabs and pulls a handful of vines on his descent. And even though I only have 3 panels, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to add another panel because I want a close-up. I want a close-up of his hand. I know it's difficult to see, but again, these are just, or maybe we see his hand out here grasping like a close-up of that vine. And then I don't want to repeat this so much, so this is something I might think a little more about, but since I don't want to draw this whole thing out, I don't want to spend so much time doing that, but how can we do something a little different? Let's see. We'll do him kind of, his head's here, do his body. He's grabbed onto the vine or whatever. Kid, this isn't the best. Probably not the best pose. I don't even know if you can make that out, but I kind of have an idea what it is. And then some buildings. Maybe have him kind of going through 2 particular buildings, and we can do some detail in there. And then let's see. So our last panel, Wild Thing reaches out for the hostage and ensnares Dr. Paradox with his vines, which have now come to life. So let's see. So we're gonna have our villain. His head's gonna kind of twist it around. We'll see him in the foreground. I know that's difficult to see, and we've got these vines and things, like, and he's trying to break free from this. And here we've got Wild Thing who's rescued the girl. And maybe this is on that rooftop here, so we'll see that. And then some buildings in the background. All right, So, you know, I don't know that it's necessary to go through do a whole other page. I only wrote like 3 pages in this. There is sort of a reveal here where it ends up that the woman that this is sort of a plot, and the woman that he rescued is actually the real villain. Do I have it? Madame Masquerade, who is like a master of disguise, and it was both of these villains' plan to lure our hero into rescue, and then, you know, she'll reveal herself, and then and who knows where it goes from there. So anyway, so that's kind of how I do you know, thumbnails. Again, I just want to reiterate, there's a number of different ways you can do these. Like I said, if you just want a free resource, you can go to my website, serkworks.com, and get this from the Comic Maker Starter Kit. It's basically you know, facing pages 3 on a page, and it's digital, so you can actually, I'll show you what I did here. You can kind of adjust these to whatever you want to work with. If you want to make these even smaller, like those other ones that I showed you that were hand-drawn, like these, you could digitally take these. It's all a vector file, so if you have a vector program, you can, or even you can bring this stuff into any program, even a raster program like Photoshop or whatever, and you can reduce the size or whatever. But you can, you know, you can make these smaller, you can rearrange them or whatever, or you can, if you want to do, you know, this is basically what I did here. This is the same, I just took the elements from this template and blew them up to a page and did a little more detailed. So that's one way you can do it. Again, that's a free resource for you. And then I've got these comic book journals, all different. Some of them have, you know, just panels and things that you can already use. Some of them, like this one, are thumbnail journals with just tons of thumbnail things that you can take with you wherever you want. These are available on Amazon. There'll be a link in the description. But these are some of the tools that I personally use to do my thumbnails. But I'm curious what you got. What are some of your methods of doing thumbnails? You could, you know, you don't need any of that stuff. You can just do what I did and just draw this stuff out yourself. So whatever way you choose to create thumbnails, I just wanted to show you a few different options. But the most important thing is that you do thumbnails, okay? Because skipping right to your actual pages, I mean, you want to give yourself room to make errors and room to plan things out, or else, you know, why spend all these time on an actual page if, you know, if you're having to rework it and everything. And this is the stage, and it goes across all different kinds of, whether it's, you know, like animation, they have storyboards, or movies have storyboards. Animation usually have like animatics or whatever, and that's just so you can test this stuff out before you invest, in those particular cases, a lot of money and time, but in our case, a lot of time, our own time, in planning this stuff out. So definitely make sure you're doing thumbnails before you go to the actual stage, because it's a super important part of the comic book making process. And with that, that's pretty much all I have to say today about thumbnails. Show you a little of my process and show you some of the tools that I use. Hopefully you found that helpful. Let me know in the comments section how you do thumbnails. If anyone has something that's radically different, I'm all ears. I want to know about. I really get into other people's processes and how different people do these things, because, you know, some of this stuff I picked up from other artists, some of it I just kind of made up along the way. And even the things that I made up along the way, I'm finding that other people tend to do it the same way. So it's sort of a natural thing. So anytime somebody has a technique or something that's totally different, I'm really interested in hearing that. So let me know in the description of this video, and I will see you guys later. That is all. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like what you saw and you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. Also, you can follow me at Serkworks on social media, and now you can support the work that I do on Patreon. Do you like making comics? Then go to Serkworks.com and pick up the Comic Maker Starter Kit. It's packed full of fonts, brushes, templates, and more. And best of all, it's totally free.